of off-trail exploring, trusting that we had interpreted the topo lines well enough and could navigate a mountain pass with no apparent trail to guide us. This is pretty remarkable in and of itself, but when you consider that he was well into his 70s on most of these trips, it's truly impressive. He was clean. Dad was always well groomed and kept himself fit in every sense of the word. And he was also clean of thought, word, and action. I never heard him utter any truly offensive language. If he were truly outraged by someone's behavior, he might say, "What a hooligan!" He was reverent. Dad found many causes for reverence and lived with a profound sense of gratitude and awareness of grace notes. Nature was the most obvious source of reverence in his life. How many times did we stop along a wooded trail so he could appreciate the beauty of a particular tree? "Why, look at this, dear. This is about the most stunning example of a lodgepole pine, Pinus contorta, I've ever seen. Look at the twisted needles with two fascicles. That's how you can identify it's a lodgepole pine." There are so many other adjectives not found in the Scouts Law that you could use to describe Dad. Intelligent, enthusiastic, engaged, handsome, good-humored. But I think the Scouts Law is a great place to start, a great foundation for anyone to lead a great, beautiful life that the rest of us can emulate. And I know that I will spend the rest of my life trying to live up to his standards. I want to leave you with a quote from John Muir, who we both shared as a source of inspiration about our love for nature. This was written in 1901 and is in the book Our National Parks. And the quote is, "Walk away quietly in any direction and taste the freedom of the mountaineer. Camp out among the grasses and gentians of glacial meadows, in craggy garden nooks full of nature's darlings. Climb the mountains and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their own freshness into you, and the storms their energy, while cares will drop off like autumn leaves. As age comes on, one source of enjoyment after another is closed, but nature's sources never fail." Thank you, Dad. We all love you.
Hi, I'm Philip. I'm Paul's half-brother. Same dad, different mom, second family. Okay? I've got my nephew, John. We're both up here from Thousand Oaks, California, Southern California. We came up this morning. We have to go back this afternoon. I'd like to touch I don't know how I follow that.
Yeah.
But I'd just like to say a few things that you might not have thought about. One was this idea of Paul being a slight man. And he was. I mean, Paul was, I don't know, 5'7", 5'8". He wasn't like the Dowdells. I'm 6 foot, 190 pounds. My brother was 6'1" and weighed 220. Those are the Dowdells. But he had the Dowdells, and he was a strong guy. Make no mistake about it. Our father was a terrific football player in the Midwest and basketball, and was a strong guy. One of the things that we talked about was how he would send you a letter, and invariably there would be a clipping, and that comes from his grandmother. Grandmother, Catherine Dowdell Grunland, she never sent a letter without a newspaper clipping, so I always knew I was going to get a clipping when I heard from Paul. I'd like to tell you about his athletic prowess. Although a lot's been said. We were on a trip in Oslo, Norway. Now, Oslo is the largest city in Norway. It's not a small community. And Paul said to me, "I want to go across town and visit the World War II Museum." And I said, okay, I'll hail the cab. Oh, no. We'll walk. I said, well, how far it is? How far is it? He said, oh, it can't be too far. I said, okay, he was 83 and I was 68. So I said, okay, let's go, pal. So off we went. It was about 3.5 miles one way. And of course, we didn't get a cab coming back, so we probably logged about 7 miles. One of the things I want to talk about is Paul's spirituality, not his religiosity, but his spirituality. He's a very spiritual man. And we used to talk about religion. Mind you, we took 4 trips, 1 to Norway, 3 to the Midwest, and I was with Paul 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the whole trip. So we did a lot of, you can do a lot of talking with somebody in a short period of time. I want to tell you about some of the things that happened to us. Just a couple of stories. We wound up in Scotland, South Dakota, where our great-grandfather, great-grandfather, Stephen, was buried. And we went to this cemetery, and it was so many years ago, we came in the morning, and we couldn't read the headstones. That's what you do when you're into family history and genealogy like I was at the time. Still am. And it was, oh dear. Well, let's go have lunch. We went and had lunch, and we came back, and somehow the sun was in a different position. And my gosh, we looked at those headstones, and we could read them just as clear as day. So we got down all that information on this Grunland family in that little cemetery in Scotland, South Dakota. Let me give you one more story. We went up to visit the Irish side of our family in Ogdensburg, New York, the Dowdells and the Kearneys. And I said, Paul, there's a story about the 3 Kearney boys who were orphans. And they came on the Canadian side. So we're on the St. Lawrence River, if you know upstate New York, way upstate New York. And all you have to do is cross the St. Lawrence River and you're in Canada. He said, well, let's go over there. He said, well, what are we looking for? I said, I don't know. So let's go look. And we went down there, and he said, well, I wanted to find a remnant of the dock. This is from the 1830s, where these boys came in. And then were immediately orphaned because their dad was murdered. And he said, well, I said, let's, and he said, well, Paul, he said, well, I'm going to go try and find it. So off he went, and I stayed in the car for a minute. And there was a guy over here parked in a station wagon, and we started up a conversation. Turns out he was a truck driver, and I made my living with the truck drivers helping me make that living. So we had things in common. And I said, he said, well, why are you here? He said, well, I know this sounds crazy, but we're looking for some remnant, some historical remnant of this dock where the Dowdell boys came over from Ireland. And he said, it's right over here. Come here, I'll show you. So we went around, and there it was, little stubs hanging up, just protruding from the water. He said, that's it. And my gosh, Paul said, something's going on here with these trips of ours, because there was a very serious element of spirituality, and I think he appreciated it as much as I did. And he was a great guy. I'm proud to say that he was my brother, and fortunately we were able to spend a lot of time together, albeit late in life. I never met Paul till I was in my 30s, and it was Grandma Grunland. They kept us all together with these threads. Okay, and when I met, I'll just tell you one quick story, and I'll shut up. I had never met the man, and one day I was in Oakland on business, and the man I was with, I said, drop me off here and come back and get me in about a half an hour. And I went into Capwell's, and I said, Paul Grunland? Yes, he's a manager. Well, where is he? He's downstairs. So I went downstairs. Peggy knows this story. And he saw me, we'd never met, maybe he saw a picture, a photo of me, I don't know. And he walked right over me and said, Philip, how nice of you to come visit me. And we had never met. What a thrill it was. Thank you.